I'll start. Look, and if the response, I presume the response will be here before we'll. I'm sure we can rely on the Minister's imagination to deliver a response to me. But can I just say from the outset, just in case you think I'm worried about the levels of bachelors in West Cork and to Manwick, Kinsale, Skibbereen, MEN doesn't refer to man as in man and woman. Can I thank you, Acting Cathaoirleach, for the opportunity of raising this important issue, and I really appreciate the fact that I can raise the whole issue of fibre optic infrastructure in terms of creating jobs and in terms of investing in rural Ireland. And to begin with, I suppose the man, of course, is the metropolitan area networks, and this is talking essentially about high-end infrastructure in rural areas, and we've seen a lot in recent times. And rightly or wrongly, there's a perception out there that there's an attack on rural Ireland, or that there's a particular emphasis in rural Ireland in terms of achieving cost savings. So I want to turn that around. And there have been very good initiatives in recent times, not least by Minister Lucinda Creighton, in terms of including primary schools in the European project. And I also want to put this issue up there and ask the Minister to investigate the possibility of elaborating on what currently exists. So it's not that we're plucking this from the sky. There's an infrastructure there, and we want to build on that. There are 3 metropolitan area networks lying dormant in West Cork within the last 7 years. They're also known as MANs, obviously. They're connected in Skibbereen, in Kinsale and in Dunmanway. And to date, they remain to be connected to the relevant service providers. Now, all of the MENs are managed and operated by ENET, who are appointed by the department following a procurement process and who make the networks available to the telecommunications sector. Each of these 3 networks holds within it the vast potential to create hundreds of jobs, if not more, to create hundreds of jobs, and to equip local businesses in the areas that I've outlined, in Kinsale, in Dunmanway and in Skibbereen. And you're talking about equipping these businesses with high broadband capacity and unlimited speed. The economic benefits of having metropolitan area networks in a rural town are wide-ranging and are self-explanatory. Now, every town, regardless of whether it's in an urban or in a rural setting, needs a broadband literate population and a business community in order to further develop itself economically. A modern and effective communications network is absolutely essential and is the bedrock of any business. And it's the bedrock of any thriving, roaring economy and community. And everyone benefits from that. And the large corporations will benefit from it. Educational providers will benefit from it. Medical providers, government institutions. The list goes on. And to put it quite simply, Cathaoirleach, broadband delivered on a fibre optic cable is an essential requirement to all of that. In addition to high capacity and unlimited speed, the MENs are separate from other networks and thus provide an alternative and increased competition. Each connected network is routed to access the major industrial and commercial area and provides the essential infrastructure that heavy broadband users need in order to have the services they require delivered to their door. In addition, a metropolitan area network can increase workplace flexibility for smaller businesses, as it can accommodate people who are increasingly beginning to blur the lines between home and work boundaries. By enabling greater broadband capability, daily admin tasks could be performed at home, helping to relieve traffic congestion and allowing for flexible childcare arrangements. And those, despite the unemployment crisis, are obviously still issues for people who are affected by them. The failure to date to connect any of these networks to the relevant services required to make each one go live is a crumbling disappointment for the towns that are concerned here. And I've said it already, there's an infrastructure here and it's about connectivity. So we're not starting from a blank canvas. And I want to point out to a sterling example of that. The former TD for our area, the former Minister for Agriculture, Joe Walsh, secured funding for the provision of a fibre optic network to the technology park in Clonakilty around 11 years ago. Now, there are about 1,000 jobs in that park as we speak today, and you could put that down to the visionary of the former Minister Joe Walsh. I want to acknowledge that publicly here this afternoon, and stands testament and has stood the test of time throughout the economic crisis to what an investment in rural broadband can actually do for sustainable jobs in a rural setting. The business people from all over West Cork will tell you that in terms... Sorry, Ken?
Your time is up. If you
okay, just might beg your indulgence. Business people all over the West Cork area will tell you that when you go to state institutions like the Enterprise Ireland or the IDA for grant assistance, the first question that you will be asked is there an appropriate fibre optic infrastructure in the local area? Now, the answer is is self-explanatory. And I await the Minister's reply with great anticipation and will add a few more comments post the reply. Thank you, Cahill.
Minister, you 4 minutes.
Thanks. Thank you to Deputy Michael McCarthy for giving me the opportunity to say these few words by way of response on this important matter. Deputy McCarthy will be aware that the electronic communications market in this country is a fully liberalised market and regulated by the independent regulator, the Commission for Communications Regulation, ComReg. The quality of electronic communication services, including broadband, is a matter for private sector service providers regulated and licensed by ComReg. The state is not a service provider in the telecoms market and tends to intervene only in cases of demonstrated market failure. Under one such intervention, the government's regional broadband programme, there were a total of 11 MANs, metropolitan area networks, built in County Cork, covering 15 towns, including the 4 towns that is Deputy McCarthy's immediate concern here: Skibbereen, Bantry, Dunmanway and Kinsale. The metropolitan area networks are operated and managed on behalf of the state by a managed service entity, ENET, a Limerick-based company. 3 of the MANs in West Cork were handed over to ENET in 2010. The Kinsale MAN will be completed this year and handed over to ENET on completion. I've been advised by ENET that the Bantry metropolitan area network is now active and that the MAN in Dunmanway is expected to be live in the next month or so. While the Skibbereen MAN is available for use, it does not have connections. ENET is in active discussions with local business representatives with the aim of stimulating demand for the MAN-based services. The demand for services in a metropolitan area town is the primary factor for the ENET to consider when deciding to connect a MAN to a backhaul service. In order to commit to the significant cost of a backhaul connection, ENET must be confident that there is sufficient demand on the MAN to justify these costs. Businesses that wish to connect to a MAN can do so by contacting ENET, who will then meet with the business to discuss the type of service that they require. In addition to the Metropolitan Area Networks programme, the National Broadband Scheme is another example of targeted state intervention in the telecoms market. The NBS network is now complete and services have been available in all 1,028 designated electoral divisions since October 2010. I'm pleased to say that all premises located within the 96 designated electoral divisions in County Cork can now avail of NBS services. I envisage that greater use will be made of the MANs in the coming years to provide bigger broadband to more businesses and citizens. I should highlight that it's important to understand the long-term nature of the MAN's investment. The MANs significantly enhanced the productive capacity of the local economy in which they were built. While the networks will be available for generations to come and facilitate digital-based business of the future, they may not be used immediately, but they are available and are already playing a part in helping Ireland to meet its targets under the EU's digital agenda for Europe. And I would, of course, welcome any initiatives that lead to greater use of the MANs in Cork and nationally. The Government accepts that the widespread availability of high-speed broadband is a key requirement in delivering future economic and social development. With basic broadband services available across Ireland, the challenge now is to accelerate the rollout of high-speed services. Cahill, may I conclude by mentioning the Next Generation Broadband Task Force, which I chair. The task force is currently considering how best to facilitate the rollout of Next Generation Broadband throughout Ireland, which reflects a commitment under the New Era proposals in the programme for government. The task force will conclude its deliberations shortly. It's my intention to consider the findings, conclusions and recommendations of the report of the task force and to move quickly thereafter to put in place the optimal policy environment for the delivery of high-speed broadband and thereby assist in delivering on the commitment to the programme for government. And I think you yourself, Cahill, were present yesterday, or was it Monday, when I had the pleasure of announcing the rollout of high-speed industrial strength broadband to every second-level school in the country, and whereas on this occasion it doesn't include Cork Southwest, it will next time round. The first 200 schools will be connected up along the west coast and northwest in 2012.
Deputy, do you want to ask a supplementary?
I acknowledge the sentiments contained therein. There are a couple of points I wish to make. One of the proposals that was put to me locally is that you can establish a resilience circle connecting the metropolitan area networks from the Bishopstown roundabout, going to Dunmanway, Bantry, Skibbereen, Kinsale and back into Carrigaline, and make it part of the Cork City metropolitan area network, because that has global connectivity. And we're all well aware of the constraints on government, but I honestly believe, Minister, this is one of the departments that can take the lead in terms of providing the infrastructure necessary to encourage the expansion of jobs and the creation of jobs. And I know that the progress has been made in Kinsale in recent times, and I absolutely welcome that. Can I urge Cathaoirleach that the officials in the department will, no pun intended, speed up their involvement with the officials in Cork County Council who are the project handlers in part of this process, who are tasked with project managing the delivery of the networks in towns across Cork. And I'm of the view that in Skibbereen there's a very strong appetite for this, and putting it back to the potential user of the service is all very well, but there needs to be, I believe, a department-led initiative here in order to connect the network. It is one of the areas, I believe, where we can begin to halt the perception, at least, that there's an attack on rural Ireland, a notion that I utterly reject, obviously. But this is one of the ways that we can provide the infrastructure to create the conditions that are necessary for job creation. And it's one of the departments, you think about departments and spending in budgets, you'll think of health, education and social welfare. This is one of the departments that can take the lead in terms of job creation. Thank you, Cathaoirleach.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Minister.
Cathaoirleach, I'm pretty familiar with Deputy McCarthy's views on this subject, because he has canvassed my position on this critical connectivity issue on several occasions. And of course he's right, not just from the important aspect that he has focused on, which is the creation of jobs, but from the aspect of the better provision of services locally. Now, in terms of the particular point that he raises about Skibbereen, as he knows, there is a difference between the multi-fibre optic cable being dormant around the town and being lit and being accessed by local businesses. And I would certainly be very happy to facilitate Deputy McCarthy if his wish is that some local business people want to meet with DNet and discuss with DNet how they might make optimum use of the undoubted service that is there. I mean, people have criticised the previous government for spending something of the order of 170 million, which was a major expenditure in the provision of the mans around the country, given that half of them are still not lit. But I wouldn't be one of the critics. I think it was a valuable addition to necessary infrastructure. And even if it does take some time for the capacity of the mans to be exploited by local business, it will be nonetheless invaluable for that. And I repeat again, in conclusion, last Cathaoirleach, that in terms of whatever decisions that this government makes, the decision to roll out industrial strength broadband to second level schools is one of the most important decisions that this government will make, because the impact on teaching and the impact on learning is quite remarkable and energising. And I think in terms of the future digital economy and the knowledge society, we couldn't make a more valuable step in terms of equipping our young people for the future and to use digital enterprises to provide the kind of employment that Deputy McCarthy is advocating.
Thank you, Minister.